The Empty Coffin series is set in Washington State, which we all think of, as gloomy, rainy, and miserable, which it is, and I know that because I'm from there. And what we have is a tiny little town, a historic town that's pretty on the outside, but there's something dark going on behind every door. And the protagonists in this series are Haley and Taylor Ryan, and they're the daughters of a crime writer dad and a psychiatric nurse mother who are always thinking about crime and how it fits into their family business. I have enjoyed a career writing true crime for adults and also crime thriller fiction. But I look back at the books that really resonated with me when I was growing up, and I was thinking of things like Stephen King's book, Carrie. I read that when I was 17. I thought it was a fantastic book, and it made me a lifelong reader of fiction. So I'm thinking that my series is a little bit like that. It's the kind of book that has adult themes in it, but written for high school people, for kids that are interested in the dark side of things like I was. I have to say that what inspired me to write this story with twin protagonists is that I actually have twin daughters, so I know a little something about the dynamic between girls who look the same but are very, very different. So I like that idea of putting that relationship aspect into a crime story. What do they know? What do they share with each other? What do they withhold? There's a lot of that going on in the Empty Coffin series. I picked Port Gamble, Washington for the setting because it is pretty on the outside and a little bit creepy. I mean, we've got these old, beautiful, restored homes, and it doesn't seem to be anybody living in them. All of the activity that goes on in that community takes place in people's backyards because it's a tourist town, and the people who live there just don't do anything outside in front of you. So I like the idea of, what's going on behind house number 17, because they're all numbered like that. The streets and everything, they're narrow, they're twisty. It's kind of interesting that way. So I thought, well, what happened in that house that's 200 years old, and by Washington State standards, that's really old. Like a lot of thriller fiction or mystery fiction, there really is a kernel of truth. A lot of writers are inspired by true events, and we've seen that in books, over and over. In the Empty Coffin series, I actually pick a case that I think would resonate with teen readers, and in this instance, I chose a cyberstalking case, and that's what the story revolves around. So I looked at what happened in a particular case in St. Louis and switched it up, changed it up, but kept the truth of what happened very real in the book. When I started looking at doing YA and thought maybe this would be something that I'd like to pursue, I read a lot of things, and I can't tell you that my favorite probably would be The Hunger Games. I loved that series. I thought, wow, what Suzanne Collins did in that, she made a modern classic out of that very dark story, which made me care about those characters. And the same thing, like obviously the Harry Potter series, I read those, and I thought these are classics, and they're resonating with young people in the way that Carrie resonated with me when I was a kid. I only write at night. For some reason, I find that darkness is my friend in the process. So I sit there, I probably start work around 8 o'clock and maybe work till about midnight. My goal is always 1,000 words a day when I'm writing. Now they may be a crummy 1,000 words, but that's what I've got to get done on that typewriter or that paper or that computer before I can call it a day. And sometimes that's like 2 in the morning. I get a lot of requests from young readers on how do I do it, what do I do? And I tell them if you are a writer, you are born into it and you're sort of stuck with it. So you got to kind of harness that and go for it. So I still tell people this, write every single day, even if it's one paragraph, maybe even one sentence, but the day that you stop is the day that you'll lose your way. So you've got to just keep going and never give up. I hope the readers of the series get the idea that nothing is as it seems, that they turn the page, page after page after page, and get to the end and want to know more. And I'll tell them more because there's another book coming.